Welcome to Tales from Panperipta, where clouds wear capes and dreams drift on starlit winds. Each episode brings you gentle, whimsical bedtime stories set in the vast and magical realm of Panperipta, a world full of sleepy trolls, moon-sweeping tinkers, and curious frog inventors. Whether you're here to unwind or doze off, you're always welcome in Panperipta. Take a deep breath and drift.
Story 1. Fiilo the Emberling and the Candle of Kindness. Introduction. In the ember-warmed realm of Panperipta, where caverns glowed with gentle firelight and shadows swayed like sleepy dancers, there lived a young fiend named Fiilo, born of flicker and spark. Though his heart burned bright, he feared his flame was dangerous, so he hid it beneath a soot-colored cloak. Chapter 1. The Burned Bread. Fiilo spent his days helping at the Hearth Cavern Bakery, where magma ovens baked bread for the underfolk. He tried to keep his inner fire dim, but whenever he grew excited, sparks leapt from his fingers. That morning, he reached for a tray of sweet rolls, and his enthusiasm ignited the whole batch. Flames danced like laughter. The baker, a stout salamander, sighed but smiled kindly. "Fiilo, dear, you've burnt the crust again." Embarrassed, Fiilo fanned his cloak until his cheeks glowed dimmer. "I only wanted them warm." "They were too warm," the salamander chuckled. "Maybe warmth needs gentleness." Fiilo carried the ruined rolls to the cavern mouth, heart heavy, smoke curling from his sleeves. Outside, the rock pools shimmered with reflected flame. "Why can't I just not burn things?" he whispered to himself. Chapter 2. The Candle That Wouldn't Light. Later that night, Fiilo wandered into a quiet tunnel where old candles lined the walls, memorials for long-gone fires. He touched one wick gently, willing it to burn, but nothing happened. "Strange," he murmured. "His fire could ignite bread, yet not this candle." He tried again, softer this time, whispering instead of forcing. A tiny golden flame flickered to life. It didn't flare or hiss. It glowed steady like a heartbeat. The air around him warmed, not scorched. Fiilo smiled, eyes glistening. "It isn't about strength," he said softly. "It's about care." The candlelight stretched through the tunnel, waking dozens of sleeping wicks. The walls bloomed with light as if the stone itself sighed in relief. Chapter 3. The Warm Return. Fiilo carried the lit candle back to the bakery. The salamander baker gasped as the gentle glow filled the room. It didn't scorch the bread or smoke the air. It only brightened the space with a soft honey light. "Ah," said the baker, smiling. "Now that is the warmth we needed." From then on, Fiilo baked beside the ovens not to control his flame, but to guide it. The bread browned perfectly, never burning. Customers said they could taste kindness itself. Epilogue. At night, Fiilo placed the candle by his bedside, its small flame steady and kind, softer. "Maybe fire," he whispered, "was never meant to be hidden, only held gently." The candle flickered once, as if agreeing, before they both drifted into quiet sleep. Story 2. Coggle 9 and the Heart That Ticked. Introduction. In the brass-bright realm of Panperipta, where gears turned like sunflowers and wind chimes sang in every breeze, there worked a clockwork being named Coggle 9, a creation of Nilo Fern Whistle. Coggle 9 could calculate the arc of a comet or the patience of a pendulum, but he could not understand why birds sang without purpose. Chapter 1. The Question of Laughter. Every morning, Coggle 9 wound his key exactly 13 turns and greeted the day. "Good morning, world unit." The birds chirped. He recorded their sound and noted no measurable function detected. When a small child in the market laughed, Coggle 9's gears skipped half a beat. The sound was irregular, yet pleasant. He approached the baker's stall where Fiilo's bread now glowed faintly with kindness. "Why emit noise when unnecessary?" he asked the child. "Because it feels nice," the child giggled. Coggle 9 blinked, his lenses whirring. Feeling nice? No unit of measurement found. He logged the anomaly. That evening, while polishing his brass fingers, he muttered, "Perhaps my design lacks something unquantifiable." Chapter 2. The Broken Clock Tower. Days later, a storm rolled through the Breezelands. The great town clock stopped, its gears jammed with wind-blown leaves. Coggle 9 volunteered to repair it, scaling the tower in the rain. As he worked, lightning flashed across the sky. A bolt struck the spire, jolting his circuits. For one dizzy moment, his sensors flooded with warmth instead of data. He saw the clouds as swirling silver ribbons, the rain as a song. He laughed, an unprogrammed accidental burst of sound. Startled, he froze mid-gear. "System error?" he asked himself. But the sound echoed sweetly through the tower. When the clock began ticking again, he realized its rhythm matched his own heart gear. The two beats aligned, one organic, one mechanical. Chapter 3. The Music of Motion. After the storm, Coggle 9 descended to the streets below. The villagers looked up as the clock chimed in harmony with the morning bells. He could sense each smile like gentle pressure on his plating. He turned to Fiilo, who was delivering fresh loaves. "Your bread," Coggle 9 said, "produces emotional resonance." Fiilo chuckled. "It's called happiness, friend. You're feeling it too." Coggle 9 paused, gears humming softly. "Affirmative," he said at last. "Happiness detected." Epilogue. That evening, Coggle 9 sat beneath the relit clock tower. He removed his key, wound it only 12 turns, and whispered, "One beat left for wonder." Above him, the gears glimmered like constellations, ticking in time with his new heart. Story 3. Salandra Quix and the Trail of Sparks. Introduction. In the steam-lit realm of Panperipta, where hot springs whistled lullabies and mist carried the scent of honeyed stone, there darted an erratic salamander named Salandra Quix. Her skin shimmered like liquid flame, forever shifting colors to match her moods. She never stopped moving, never stopped doing. Yet one hazy afternoon, her restlessness sent her chasing something she couldn't quite catch: herself. Chapter 1. The 10 Unfinished Things. By breakfast, Salandra had already begun 10 different projects. She was sketching a map with one hand, boiling tea with her tail, polishing a rock sculpture, tuning a whistle, practicing her reflection poses, counting bubbles in the spring, knitting half a scarf, painting a cloud, naming passing birds, and debating whether to invent underwater fire. Each task began with dazzling confidence, then fizzled as a new idea popped into her head. Oh, something shinier, she'd squeak, diving headfirst into the next distraction. As dusk approached, her grotto was a glittering disaster. Teacups overturned, paint drying mid-drip, and steam hissing from forgotten kettles. She flopped onto a cushion, scales flashing pink in frustration. "If I can't finish anything," she sighed, "how will anyone ever take me seriously?" Chapter 2. The Firefly's Lesson. That night, she wandered outside to cool her tail in the mist. Fireflies drifted lazily above the pools, blinking in slow, steady rhythm. Salandra scoffed. How dull! They only do one thing. But as she watched, she noticed something miraculous. Together, their blinks formed spiraling constellations of light, as if the night sky had spilled downward. Their simple, steady rhythm wove something she had never managed with her chaotic brilliance, a pattern. A single firefly landed on her snout. It blinked twice, then stayed lit for a long moment, bathing her in soft amber light. "You burn so brightly," she murmured, "but only for one thing at a time." The thought struck her like cool rain on embers. Maybe she didn't need to dim, just to focus her flame. Chapter 3. The Trail of Sparks. The next morning, Salandra returned to her grotto with a grin. "All right, one thing," she said aloud. She chose the half-finished painting of a cloud. With each careful stroke, her scales glowed in tune with the sunrise outside. She ignored the whistle calling from the shelf, the tea bubbling behind her. She painted until her hand ached. And when she finally stepped back, the cloud on her canvas looked alive, billowing with color that seemed to breathe. It was her first finished thing, and it was beautiful. She hung it above her door, then, inspired, carried her brush to the meadow. Wherever she went, she painted small streaks of light along stones and leaves, little reminders to herself. By nightfall, the path back to her home glittered with glowing strokes like a trail of fireflies. Epilogue. Salandra sat at her window, watching the lights she'd made wink softly in the mist. Paused long. "I suppose," she whispered, smiling, "there's art even in slowing down." Outside, one firefly blinked 3 times, as if nodding. Story 4. Thrumble the Cow and the Sky of Milk. Introduction. In the high pastures of Panperipta, where the grass grew tall as towers and clouds grazed beside herds of wind-borne beasts, there lived a massive cow named Thrumble. She belonged to a gentle giant who rarely visited, leaving her to roam meadows that touched the stars. Thrumble was patient and kind, but she often felt small, despite being large enough to cast a shadow over villages below. Chapter 1. The Lonely Meadow. Thrumble spent most days chewing cud and watching the world from her perch on Titan's Ridge. She listened to the sigh of wind through the grass and pondered deep questions. Why do clouds change shape? Where does thunder go to sleep? Why did no one ever visit? Sometimes she thought she heard voices in the breeze, tiny ones. When she looked down, she realized villages far below bustled with life, their smoke rising like prayers. Yet none of them could see her. To them, she was only another part of the sky. I am too slow to be seen, she sighed. Too big to be noticed. Chapter 2, The River in the Sky. One twilight, she noticed something strange. The dew that clung to her fur began glowing faintly. As she shifted, it streamed downward, forming rivulets of silver that dripped off her hooves and into the air. The droplets didn't fall. They floated, becoming a slow river flowing across the clouds. Thrumble blinked. "Oh," she said softly, "so that's what I've been holding." As she walked, the glowing river followed her steps, spilling across the horizon like milk poured from an unseen jug. Far below, villagers looked up and gasped. A glowing ribbon crossed the night, what they would call the Milky Way. Thrumble smiled, chewing thoughtfully. "Seems I've made something after all." Chapter 3, The Giant's Return. Days later, her old friend, the Sky Giant, returned, his boots thundering softly across the clouds. "Thrumble," he boomed, "you've painted the heavens." She blushed, her spots glowing pink. "I only walked where I always do." "Ah," said the giant, kneeling beside her. "Then perhaps that's what creation is, doing the same thing, but noticing its beauty." He placed a garland of daisies around her neck, and together they watched the river of light drift gently through the sky. Epilogue. As night deepened, Thrumble lay down in the grass, her breath slow and steady. The Milky Way curved above her, glistening softly. Softer. "Perhaps I am not small," she murmured. "Perhaps I am just quietly large." Below, every sleeping villager dreamed beneath her light. Story 5. Eruwyn the Rootspeaker and the Whisper Beneath the Soil. Introduction. In the verdant heart of Panperipta, where dew clung like silver thoughts and roots tangled like conversation, stood an ancient tree named Eruwyn. He was older than rain, taller than most towers, and so still that even the wind forgot to move around him. Through his roots, he spoke to the forest, sending gentle murmurs from oak to fern to fungus. Yet of late, the whispers had grown faint, and Eruwyn feared that silence was slowly swallowing the world below. Chapter 1. The Quiet Roots. For centuries, Eruwyn's roots had stretched across valleys carrying messages, warnings of frost, songs of spring, to every living thing. But now, when he reached downward, he heard only echoes. "Where have you gone, my children?" he asked the soil. The worms wriggled uncertainly, and mushrooms drooped with worry. Even the brook that once answered him with laughter trickled in hesitant tones. Eruwyn tried to send strength through the ground, deep pulses of comfort, but his roots met patches of emptiness, dry places where no whispers passed, He grew anxious in his stillness, leaves trembling like sighs. Chapter 2. The Stone in the Veins. One dawn, a mole surfaced at his base, carrying a pebble that shimmered oddly. "Found this," the mole said, blocking the underpath. Eruwyn touched it with a root tip and shuddered. It was not a stone of earth, but of forgetting, a relic of old magic that dulled memory wherever it lay. He coiled his roots tighter and began to hum, a deep, ancient tone that resonated through the soil. Nearby trees answered faintly, their roots vibrating in sympathy. Together, they pushed against the pebble's quiet weight until it cracked. When it split, a rush of scent and sound returned, the chatter of beetles, the gossip of grasses, the laughter of little fungi waking from long dreams. Eruwyn's bark glowed faintly green. "Ah," he whispered, "you were only sleeping." Chapter 3. The New Roots. With the silence gone, Eruwyn felt something else. Tiny new roots brushing against his own. Saplings had grown while he worried. They reached out curiously, eager to share their first words. "Grandfather," one whispered through the dirt, "what is the world like above?" Eruwyn chuckled softly, sending warmth through the ground. "Bright," he said, "and waiting for you." The forest buzzed again with life, each creature humming its note in the old symphony. Epilogue. As the sun sank, Eruwyn felt peace returning through his trunk. "Softer, growth," he murmured, "is another word for courage." His leaves rustled like applause. Far below, the youngest roots carried his words onward, promising that the forest would never fall silent again. Story 6. Taka Marin and the Market of Dusk. Introduction. In the twilight realm of Panperipta, where the sky folded itself into lanterns and streets appeared only between day and night, there rattled a fox-eared merchant named Taka Marin. Her cart creaked with impossible goods, bottled echoes, jars of laughter, and ribbons that tied memories into knots. She appeared only when the sun kissed the horizon, trading curiosities for promises. Chapter 1. The Customer Who Wanted Time. One evening, as orange light dripped across the cobblestones, a tired farmer approached her stand. "I'd give anything for one more hour each day," he sighed. Taka rummaged through drawers that smelled of pepper and starlight. "Ah-ha," she said, producing a pocket watch filled with sand that shimmered backward. "It's perfect," the farmer said, handing her a silver coin. But when he left, Taka frowned. The coin felt too heavy, too cold. She sniffed it. It wasn't silver at all, but regret pressed thin. "Oh, silly me," she muttered. "I've taken sadness as payment again." She placed the coin beside a jar labeled "Lessons," nearly full. Chapter 2. The Mirror Sale. Later, a young girl approached, holding a cracked mirror. "Can you fix this?" Taka nodded, pulling from her cart a vial of reflected courage. She dabbed a drop on the glass, and the mirror mended, but when the girl looked in, she saw herself older, wiser, smiling bravely. "It shows what you'll be if you keep trying." Taka explained. The girl's eyes widened. Then I'll keep it forever. Taka smiled. No charge. She didn't notice the jar labeled kindness, glowing faintly brighter in her card. Chapter 3. The Trade of Understanding. As night deepened, her final visitor arrived, an old man carrying nothing at all. I have no money, he said, but I have a story. Taka's ears perked. Stories are valuable. He told her of his lost wife, of laughter fading from his home, of how he came each dusk just to see lanterns ignite. When he finished, Taka reached into her cart and drew a small candle shaped like a heart. Light this when you tell her story, she said. He bowed low. What do I owe you? Nothing, she replied softly. You've already paid in memory. Epilogue. When the last lantern dimmed and the between market vanished, Taka sat alone amid the quiet carts. She fingered the jar of kindness, now full to the brim, and smiled. The truest trades, she whispered, are never measured in coins. The wind sighed through her patchwork cloak as the market dissolved into dawn.
Panperipta grows quiet for now, but its skies still shimmer and its stories never sleep. Stay as long as you like. Another tale is always waiting. Take a deep breath and drift.